Now, I really don't like playing clips of Donald Trump. I try to avoid it whenever I can, but his remarks today in front of the National Guard Association in Detroit really got under my skin because of just how absurd and hypocritical he was. Now, if you don't want to listen to Donald Trump talk for the next 5 minutes, I totally understand. Go ahead and do yourself a favor and skip ahead. But if you do have the patience for this, there is a lot to unpack and reflect on. So feel free to let it rip in the comments as you're listening to Donald Trump.
Terrorists, your choice in this election is between a president who will always have your back and a radical liberal who will never, ever, ever have your back, whether you like it or not. In 2020, when the left-wing mobs came from all over to burn our cities to the ground, Kamala stood with the looters and rioters and raised money to bail out violent criminals all over the jails of Minnesota. She came with money to bail them out. Kamala's running mate, his nickname is Tampon, Tim, but I wouldn't say that because this group is a little more low-key than the ones I'm used to speaking before. Tampon, Tim, Waltz, he wanted to think of this. He signed a bill mandating that every boy's bathroom has tampons in it. I don't think that's good. It's not good. He ignored the pleas of the mayor and the police chief to deploy the National Guard in Minneapolis and said, you're not highly trained soldiers, you're 19-year-olds who cook. That's what he said. You're 19-year-olds who cook. That's a pretty famous statement. As president, I stood with the National Guard as you saved Minneapolis, saved Kenosha, and saved Washington, D.C. I saved them. If I didn't override what they wanted to do and what tradition is, those places would have been, we would have lost every monument in Washington. You know, they came into Washington and they were very rambunctious. They liked to pull the statues down, some of these beautiful statues. And then they hit Abraham Lincoln. I said, all right, that's the end of that. And I found there was a bill from the early 1900s. We don't do bills like that anymore. This said, if you touch government property, statues, monuments of any kind, you will serve 10 years with no probation, no early getting out. You go to jail for 10 years. Very simple. It was beautifully stated. It was like one paragraph. And it had dust on it. It was dusty. Nobody used it because we wouldn't do that because we become very soft. They only go after political opponents. They don't do anything like murderers. Those guys are safe. Drug dealers, no problem. But political opponents, they go after. So this was in very bad. It was a very old bill. And I had a news conference, and they were all over. They wanted to take down the Thomas Jefferson, the Jefferson Memorial. They wanted to take it down. They were heading that way. They were actually heading that way. We had them all stopped, but they were heading that way. It's like fighting a war. And I went out to a news conference. I announced anybody that touches any of our monuments or statues goes to jail for 10 years. Everybody left Washington, D.C. I was very lonely. They all left. I watched them. I watched their asses from the back. They were all, that's all I could see is thousands of asses. And that stopped. We got it stopped. We got it stopped quickly. They all left immediately, and they haven't come back, although the other day you see them starting to do it again. They're taking the spray paint and they're spraying those gorgeous limestone tigers and all of the different things. You know, when you spray limestone, you'll see it in 100 years from now because it's a very porous stone. And they were spraying the hell out of it. And they were burning the American flag. I want to get a law passed. Everyone tells me, oh, sir, it's very hard. You burn an American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. Got to do it. We got to do it. They say it's not constitutional. They say, sir, that's unconstitutional. We'll make it constitutional. We're going to make it constitutional. But you burn an American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. That was terrible, what happened at the convention in Chicago. They're burning American flags all over the place, and the fake news doesn't want to show it. I will proudly stand with you in defense of law and order. And we're going to have 4 great years in the White House. We're going to make our country very special again.
Donald Trump there telling the National Guard Association of Detroit that he's going to be the president who's going to clamp down hard on riots. Oh, really, Donald Trump? He's going to be the president who's going to be tough on crime. Donald Trump, the guy who was convicted of 34 felonies. Donald Trump wants to talk about protecting monuments after his supporters defecated in the Capitol on January 6th. And then, of course, Donald Trump wants to be the president who will be the biggest patriot. Donald Trump, the guy who tried to overthrow our democracy. Donald Trump, the guy who sold out our country during his 4 years in the White House. I mean, how absurd was that? How ridiculous was that? I think it really goes to show us that this guy, there is no level to which he won't go to try to lie, cheat, and steal this election from Kamala Harris. I mean, the National Guard, the guys who were supposed to protect the Capitol that day, the ones who he prevented from protecting the Capitol, protecting our democracy from his own crazy, rabid supporters. Again, after he lost an election, fair and square, he is now saying to the National Guard that he's going to be the law and order president. Absurd. He also kind of went in there on the Democrats and the deep state and how they're going to be the ones who are going to jail their political enemies, which, that happens if political enemies of Democrats and the deep state, if they break the law. Now, what Donald Trump is failing to talk about here is how he wants to pardon and release the January 6th rioters from prison who have all been found guilty and sentenced. Because Donald Trump wants to weaponize our justice system in order to protect his political allies. So the idea that the Democrats are the ones who are, they're arresting their opponents is more nonsense. And again, that's one of those big lies that Donald Trump continues to tell. But I really had to share this clip of him in front of the National Guard of Detroit because of it just enraged me that this man can stand up there with a straight face and talk to people who are supposed to be apolitical. This is not supposed to be a political speech, but of course Donald Trump turned it into one. The fact that he is willing to do this screams that both, he's not ready and will never be ready and should be nowhere near the White House, but it also, this is what he's going to do over the next couple months until the election. So let me know what your reflections are of Donald Trump's comments, or, if you heard them. Let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to like and share this video with your friends so that we can bring their perspective into the conversation. My name is Brendan Plank with Reflect. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, be sure to do so and turn on notifications so that you get my future videos about the election delivered straight to you. I look forward to reading your guys' comments, and I'll see you in the next video.